All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to completely break down how you can permanently erase those unfair financial scars dragging down your credit score entirely for free. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're unlocking a step-by-step guide designed specifically for everyday U.S. consumers. We're going to master the Fair Credit Reporting Act to clean up your credit history. And honestly, the absolute best part is that you don't need to hire any of those expensive credit repair agencies to pull this off.
Think about it for a second. Are you carrying a financial scar? Imagine this incredibly frustrating scenario. You're doing absolutely everything right. You're paying your bills perfectly on time, you're keeping your balances low, but when you finally go to apply for a loan, your score is just stuck in the gutter. Why? Usually, it's because of some dumb mistake made by a bank or a collection agency years ago. You're carrying around a scar that you don't even deserve, and it's holding you back.
Look, the reality is, these hidden ghost negatives could literally be costing you thousands of dollars in higher interest rates, and you probably don't even know it's happening. Research actually shows a huge percentage of credit reports contain these lurking errors. Well, to date, we're fixing them. We'll walk through exactly how to dispute these mistakes so you can save your money and your sanity without handing over a single dime to so-called insider credit repair companies.
So, here's our playbook for today's explainer. First, the FCRA verify or delete rule. Second, finding errors on your report. Third, sending your dispute letters. Fourth, goodwill letters and late payments. And fifth, the pay for delete tactic. This is a step-by-step process that requires absolutely no special skills, and it's going to turn you from a victim of the algorithm into the manager of it. Let's get to work.
Section 1. The FCRA, verify or delete. Let's take a quick look at the legal plumbing that makes this whole thing possible.
So we're talking about the Fair Credit Reporting Act, or FCRA. This federal law creates a massive shift in power, straight into your hands. Under the FCRA, if a bank or collection agency reports a negative item on your profile, they are legally required to be able to verify it. The burden of proof isn't on you to prove an item is false. The burden is 100% on them to prove it's true.
And here's where it gets really good. It all comes down to a strict 30-day timeline. Day 1, you send your dispute letter. By day 30, the credit bureau hits a hard legal deadline for their investigation. And by day 31, that debt is either verified or completely deleted. If the creditor cannot verify the exact details of that debt within that precise 30-day window, the bureaus are legally mandated to wipe it off your report entirely.
The stakes here are massive. Getting just a single collection or charge-off removed using this legal timeline can spike your credit score by 50 to 100 points, almost overnight. This is seriously the single most powerful move you can make for your overall financial health. Moving on to Section 2, finding errors on your report. Now that we understand the law, let's jump into Step 1 of the playbook, which is the audit. After all, you can't fight what you can't see, right?
Your very first actionable step is pulling your free reports from the big 3 bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You want to scan them really carefully. Don't just look for massive, fake accounts you don't recognize. You need to hunt down the tiny technical inaccuracies. I'm talking about things like a slightly wrong balance, an incorrect date of last activity, or maybe a late mark on a month where you know for an absolute fact that you paid. Even the smallest inaccuracy gives you firm, legal grounds to dispute it.
All right, Section 3. Sending your dispute letters. Once you spot an error on any of those 3 reports, it's time for the verify or delete challenge. Now, I want to be super clear here, especially for complete beginners. Formal disputes require 0 legal fees and 0 special skills. You really don't need a lawyer to generate a formal dispute letter demanding the bureaus investigate an inaccurate item. You aren't just politely asking them for a favor, you are formally disputing it as inaccurate under federal law, and absolutely anyone can do this. Here's the ultimate insider secret as to why this dispute process works so incredibly well. Collection agencies buy old debt in bulk for basically pennies on the dollar. Because of that messy transfer, they frequently lack the original paperwork or the proper documentation required to actually verify the account when you challenge it. So you send that formal dispute letter, and they simply can't verify the details. They fail to respond within that 30-day window, and the result? The financial scar is gone, wiped from your record entirely just because they couldn't produce the receipts. Next up, Section 4, goodwill letters and late payments. Because what if the negative mark isn't from some shady collection agency, but from a legitimate bank you still use every day? Well, you basically have 2 main tools here depending on your situation. First is the goodwill letter. Use this if you've been a loyal customer and just slipped up that one time.
You send a letter essentially asking them as a gesture of goodwill to remove the late mark. But if they say no, or if you're dealing with stubborn, recurring late payments, you have to pivot. You escalate to a formal dispute. You legally force them to verify the exact specific details of those late payments during the investigation. If they slip up and can't verify it perfectly, it has to come off.
Which brings us to Section 5, the pay-for-delete tactic. Let's look at exactly what to do if a collection agency actually can verify your debt is 100% accurate. What's your next move?
Here is a stark reality you need to understand. A paid collection still damages your credit score. If they verify the debt, do not just blindly pay it off. That is a massive trap. A paid collection simply updates to paid, but continues to sit right there in your credit report as a glaring negative mark, dragging your score down for years.
Instead, you negotiate what's called a pay-for-delete. You contact the agency and offer to pay just a fraction of the total balance, usually starting around 25 to 50%. But, and this is crucial, you only make this offer on the strict condition that they agree to completely remove the account from your credit report the moment you pay.
And that brings us to rule number 1. Get the delete agreement in writing before you pay a single cent. I honestly cannot stress this enough. If it isn't explicitly a delete agreement in writing, hold your ground, do not give them your money. You absolutely need documented proof of their promise to remove the scar before you transfer any funds.
Okay, let's wrap this up by managing your expectations. First, keep your focus on the big issues, the A-tier negatives like charge-offs and late payments. Those are what actually move the needle. Second, skip disputing hard inquiries. They're only worth a tiny 5 to 10-point boost and usually just aren't worth the hassle. Third, be persistent. Prepare yourself for a slow, lagging bureaucracy. If a bureau verifies the debt the first time, don't give up. Be fully ready to send a second round of disputes to get that win.
So I'll leave you with this. What technical error will you find in dispute on your credit report today? You now know the mechanical rules to beat the system. You know it takes no special skills, and you know how to leverage the FCRA entirely for free. So what are you waiting for? Go pull those reports from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Find that one error and start your dispute today. Trust me, when that negative falls off and your score jumps, you'll know exactly how you did it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.